All right, story time. So, what happened to 509? So, some of you probably noticed that it's not called 509 anymore. It's called Fortek 9. I had a few people ask me, what does Fortek 9 mean? How did I even come up with that name? Why did I change it? So, this video is just going to be for, the longtime subscribers or for people who want to start YouTube and just kind of need some motivation. So, I'm just going to talk about YouTube in general, my experience, and how I started it, and how I started 509, and why it's called Fortek 9 now. So we'll start from the very beginning. So the RC channel 519 is actually not the first channel I've had. The first channel was called 519, but after that I had a 509 Films channel, I had a gaming channel, and then the RC channel was actually the fourth channel I've had. So the first one I've made about, this was probably like 10 years ago. So as long as I can remember, I always liked cameras, pictures, videos. I remember the first camera I bought was like for myself was a Kodak. It was like 3 megapixels. It was so bad, but it was cool. I took pictures. I remember I tried taking videos. The videos were so bad, but it was fun. And then after that, I kind of went into the vlog cameras, point and shoot cameras, and then I remember I used to watch a lot of Devin Supertramp. If you guys don't know who that is, check it out. He basically films a bunch of like exciting, fun activity kind of videos. So I watched Devin Supertramp. I used to watch a lot of Roman Atwood when he did his pranks and his vlogs. And then also Demolition Ranch, which kind of sucks because he just stopped making YouTube. But those are the three main channels that I've watched and kind of motivated me to make my own channel. So I'll get back to those channels in a bit. So after the point and shoot camera, I remember I was watching one of Devin's videos and I really just liked how the professional, the DSLR cameras filmed. And I was like, dude, you know what? I'm going to save up. I'm going to buy myself a legit camera. So I remember I saved up a little bit. I bought a Canon 7D Mark II, I believe. That was my first camera. And yeah, I just started filming everything. Pictures, videos, it was a pretty good camera. So at that time, we had a group of guys, and we just kind of like to do everything. We didn't really have a specific hobby. Kind of getting, the inspiration from Devin's channel, I just kind of started filming, like, all the exciting stuff we did. So it was kind of fun filming everything we did. And, at that point, we're like, dude, let's just maybe make a YouTube channel and just kind of start posting the stuff we do. So then we're like, all right, we got to come up with a name. So since we live in Washington, in Spokane, we just kind of started thinking like Washington Boys, PNW Boys. So yeah, we're just kind of coming up with names. We didn't really have anything yet. And so the area code that we live in, and it's a pretty big area code, is 509. So I really like that, the way it sounds, 509. But the problem is a lot of people already use that name. There's, a few channels, on Instagram, Facebook. There's a lot of groups that use that name or the number 509. So then I just thought, what if I just pronounce it 509 but just spell it different? And so that's how 509 came to be.
Drop that. Drop.
So that's how I spelled it, 509. And then I made that logo. I showed the guys, and the guys are like, yeah, dude, that looks cool. Sounds cool. And then that's how we just kind of stuck with it. So that was the first channel. And we made a couple videos. It was fun. I really enjoyed making that channel. It was a really fun channel. I've learned a lot from it. But it didn't go so well. The reason why, it's hard to make a channel with a lot of people involved. If you have like 2 people, it's fine. We had, I think, like 4 guys, 5 guys. And so eventually, this guy got married, that guy got married. We kind of stopped doing our things now. And so it was kind of hard to get the guys together every time for like, hey, let's just film this. That guy couldn't make it. This guy couldn't make it. So eventually the channel just died out. We stopped making videos. We made maybe like once a month. And then after that, we just kind of, all right, let's just close it. We still had the videos up, but I remember we just kind of stopped. And that's just kind of one of the, things to think about is if you're trying to start a channel, not even an RC channel, just any kind of channel, the first thing I ask people is, will you be able to have content that you could post at least once a week? And that's just, just a rough, you don't have to post once a week, but that's just kind of, a rough idea. And the reason why is because I had a few guys that, wanted to go into like, doing reviews for cameras, drones, stuff like that. And I told them, will you be able to afford stuff to post once a week? As you guys know, cameras, drones, they're pretty expensive. So to get, hands-on new product all the time, it's kind of hard. So that's just kind of something to think about. If you're going to be starting a channel, ask yourself, will you be able to at least make one video per week? So after that channel fell through, I just kind of, I still have my camera. I went to film weddings, just like small videos for businesses, stuff like that. And so that's when I made my second channel, the 509 Films. I think that's what it was called. So I posted my wedding videos. It got boring pretty quick. So then I made a gaming channel. Started that for a little bit, didn't really work out, stopped it. So after the third channel, I was just like, all right, I'm just going to take some time off from YouTube and just kind of forget about it for a little bit. So I remember a few months passed. It could have been a year. I don't really remember. And I remember watching Roman Atwood's video, and he was just kind of talking about how he started his channel, kind of where he came from, how it all began, stuff like that. And that video basically motivated me to try it one more time. So before I started, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do some research. I'm really going to think about it, how to start it the correct way. I want to do something that I've enjoyed. The biggest thing I enjoy is making videos. But I'm like, okay, what was the second thing that, I do enjoy doing it, and it's going to be easy for me to do it. I just kind of been thinking, what's some of the hobbies, I like to do. I was always into RC cars, but I didn't really have any like hobby grade cars. I remember I just had some cheap ones from like Radio Shack and Walmart and stuff like that. And I remember my buddy had a Traxxas Slash, and I really enjoyed that thing. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do an RC channel. Before I start one, I'm like, I need to get myself a legit car. So I remember doing some YouTube research, looking for some kind of cars. What kind of car should I buy? And I remember watching Rich Duperbash video about the Armacentin 3S, and he bashed it pretty hard. It really surprised me how well it held up, and I was like, you know what? That's going to be the first car. So I saved some money, bought that car, and boom, that was the first video that I posted. I already had the logo, the 509 name, so I'm like, you know what? I'll just continue with the 509 basically name. So fast forward a few years, channel's doing pretty good. I was thinking to myself, I should probably make maybe, a hat, a shirt for myself and stuff like that. So I remember I made a shirt for myself, a hat, a couple other things. The first time, I realized that I got to change my name was when my nephew came over, and he's from a different town. So he came over, he seen my shirt, and he's like, hey, I seen a kid at my school wear the same shirt. He's wearing your channel shirt. I know I wasn't selling anything. I basically just kind of made it for myself. So I was like, are you sure, it's spelled this way? He's like, yeah, it's spelled 509. At that time, it kind of hit me because I know we have a company called 509, the number 509. They make like dirt bike helmets, snowmobile, goggles, and I guess they also make some shirts. So, I went on their site just kind of to see how they make their, how they spell their name. Pretty close to how, I spelled my name. It's just literally one letter difference. That's when I realized I gotta change my name. If I want to make shirts, if I want to make hats, it had to be something different, something that nobody really has, a different name, a unique name. Because that, 509 is a pretty common name. If you guys look at the area code, it's a really big area code. That was when I realized I gotta change my name. I've been thinking about changing the name for a while. I just didn't know what to change it. I wanted to keep the logo. I really like the logo, the FN, the 509, the circle thing, looking thing. Thought maybe completely changing the whole, logo thing, but I really liked it. I found a program basically where you just tell what you want, the keywords, kind of brand name you want, and it gives you a bunch of just lists of names. And so I remember kind of going scrolling through, and Fortek 9 popped up and kind of caught my eye. It kind of sounded cool. Fortek 9 kind of sounded similar to 509. It had the letters, FN. So finally, I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to change the name, see how it looks, see how it sounds. So basically, that was the reason. Just too much people, have that name, 509. It's a pretty big area code. So I just had to make something different, unique. That way, if I want to make a brand or something like that, shirts, hats, it had to be something different. That's kind of the backstory of, how I started my channel. It took me 3 channels to finally get the 4th one right. The hardest part was, just kind of continuing to kind of have motivation all the time. There's a few times where I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm probably going to just quit, stop making videos. But I'll just tell you guys right away, if you're doing YouTube just to make money, then you will quit pretty quick. And, just kind of a piece of advice, if you're planning to, make a YouTube channel, do it because you like to make videos. Find a hobby that you really enjoy and then make videos from that. And the reason why, because if you're making YouTube videos because, you want to make money and, because you see all these YouTubers, making a lot of money and stuff like that, then, you're going to have a hard time being motivated. Because I'll tell you, starting off is the hardest part. So the first couple months, you probably won't be making any kind of money. And, you're going to be kind of disappointed. So find something you enjoy doing, make videos, find something you guys like to do, start filming it. But the biggest step is post that first video. Probably won't even get noticed until like the 10th video. If you're, planning to make a RC video, just do it. Just start posting it. Post it on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You kind of have to post it everywhere. And then, it'll just kind of get easier and easier over time. So yeah, guys, that's the story of Fortek 509. Thanks for watching. Subscribe down below. Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.